Welcome to this video on making the most of your digital readings. In this video, we're going to cover some advantages to online readings, some tips to help you be efficient and get the most out of your readings, how to develop digital skills that will help you use online reading platforms effectively, and we'll demonstrate some of the key reading platforms and tools available through the library. We will also cover where to access additional reading resources and support. We hope that this video gives you more confidence in using online reading sources by developing digital reading skills. There are lots of advantages to digital readings that can make them a desirable option. Digital reading platforms are convenient because they're available to access wherever you are, and the resources are available to multiple users at a time. They have helpful tools for effective reading strategies that can save you time, such as find functions to search for key terms, the ability to highlight and comment on the text, and accessibility functions such as read aloud and the ability to resize the text, zoom in and out, or change the font. There are further benefits to developing digital reading skills in terms of employability. Being confident and capable of working with digital texts effectively can give you an advantage in the workplace. There is an environmental benefit. Working with text digitally reduces the need for printing. And it can also help you manage your personal digital ecosystem. Digital reading skills are a key part of the process of managing your studies and work, enabling you to keep all the text you interact with and your notes on them in one place. Before you start accessing and reading online texts, it's wise to have a plan to make sure you're spending your time efficiently, taking helpful notes and staying organized. Usually you can't read all the text that you find on a topic, or even everything suggested on a comprehensive reading list. So you need to make choices and be selective about what you read. Creating a plan or strategy will help you make the best use of your time when you're reading. You'll need to think about what you hope to achieve from your reading. Are you reading to build up knowledge on a new topic, or are you looking for something specific? Ask yourself, why am I reading this? What do I need to know? What do I know already? And how will I know when I've read enough? This will help you to be more selective when you're choosing relevant texts for your task, and help you identify the relevant parts of the text to focus on. Remember the keywords from your assignment or research question, and check if these are mentioned. Look at the front and back covers, the contents page and the index to see what's covered, and discard anything that doesn't contain what you need. Think about how you'll prioritize texts so you can focus on the most relevant information, and all this will become the basis for your reading strategy. Using reading strategies should help you to read more effectively and to engage with the texts, to question them and extract relevant ideas. A reading strategy can be an existing method that you follow or a set of steps you create on your own. These steps will vary depending on the type of information you're reading, a textbook or an article, for example, and on your learning style, but generally they should help you to get a quick overview of the material, identify areas for more in-depth reading, and help you know when to stop reading. The SQ3R method is one reading strategy that was designed for studying a textbook, and these are the steps. Survey. Take a few minutes glancing over the chapter headings to see the big points that will be developed. Question. Turn the headings into a question. This will give you a specific purpose for reading the material. Read. Read to answer the question. This isn't a passive plodding along each line, but an active search for the answer. Recite. Having read the first section, look away from the book and try to recite the answer to the question in your own words. Review. When the text has been read through in this way, look over your notes to get a bird's eye view of the points and their relationship and to check your memory. In practical terms, doing an initial survey of material could look like scanning the text, looking for your keywords and key information like statistics, dates, or phrases, or skimming or speed reading, prioritizing sections like the introduction, conclusion, headings, and the beginning and ends of paragraphs to get the main ideas and a general overview. This can help you to identify sections that will be most relevant to you. Once you've identified useful text, you can start reading those sections in more depth and at a slower pace. This will allow you to engage with the information by asking questions, taking notes, making critical comments, and thinking about how that information compares to your other reading. It might be time to stop reading when the information starts to repeat itself, when you think you've covered the core material or answered your research questions. And when you're coming across information that isn't relevant to your research question, or the information doesn't offer anything new, it might also be time to stop reading. All these methods apply for screen reading too, and many online reading platforms have built-in tools to make these steps easier for you. However, there are some things to keep in mind when you're reading on a screen. Remember your reading plan. This can help you stay on task and avoid distractions. You can also avoid distractions by closing unnecessary browser tabs and turning off notifications. Try and make sure you're working in a suitable environment for your study needs. Sit comfortably and adjust lighting to avoid glare on the screen. Include references in your notes so you remember where the information came from, or use built-in note-taking features. This will help you with referencing later on. Make sure you take regular screen breaks. You might want to use a time management system such as the Pomodoro method to manage your time efficiently. As an Essex student, you have access to many online reading platforms through your reading lists and the library, and some of the most popular ones are listed here on the slide. Later on, we're going to demonstrate how to use features on ebook and online journal platforms, and how to develop digital skills that will help you get the most out of online readings. But first, let's talk about what you can expect to find when using online reading platforms. Many of them offer time-saving tools and features that make it easier to scan the text for relevant information. Often, details about the text are provided on an overview page, which will give you some clues about the subjects covered. This may include a table of contents. You can search for keywords and terms within the text and then jump to where they appear. You can usually add personal notations such as bookmarks, highlights, and comments, which can help when you revisit the text later on. Sometimes you'll need to create a personal account to enable these features, so be sure to check the platform settings. There may be accessibility functions such as read aloud, the ability to resize the text or zoom in and out, and to change the fonts to improve your experience of the text. There may also be options to save or download sections of the text, or to read the entire text offline. This is usually for a limited time, and there may be cases when a limited number of users can access a text at the same time. So once again, do check the details carefully. You may also need to download additional software, for example, Adobe Digital Editions. But if you do, you'll be prompted to do that when you try and download the book. We're now going to have a look at reading lists. We've prepared a reading list for the session that you can access via the link. Reading lists are an important part of your module because they're made by your lecturers and will give you access to materials that you'll need to read to support your studies. The reading list system we use has some tools you can use to organise your reading, and we're going to have a look at those now. As I was saying, there's some useful features in the reading list system that you can use to organise your reading. Firstly, your lecturers will identify essential readings, so you'll know what you'll have to read for your lecture or class. Clicking the button next to the View Online button lets you set your reading intentions. So you can say whether you're going to read a book, whether you've already read it, or whether you're in the process of reading it. This way you can organise your reading and keep track of where you're up to. And if you want to add a note, you click on the Actions menu next to the reading intentions and choose Personal Note. You can add a note to the references. If you want to filter the list, so for example, if you wanted to only look at essential readings, you can use the drop-down at the top and choose Essential. And when you come to make a bibliography for your essays and coursework, you can use the Citation Style menu to choose an appropriate style for your references and then download bibliography. To get to any readings on the reading list, we simply need to click the View Online button. So we'll look at the first book on our list, by clicking View Online. This is the main page for this particular ebook, and our access to it is provided by Cambridge Core. So what can we see on this page? The first thing we can see is some information about the book, the title, the editor, when and where the book was published, and also the ISBN and DOI, both unique identifiers for this book. Under the DOI, there are subject headings that describe the content of the book. So if you were looking for another book that covered one of these subjects, you could click on the heading and browse other books on this platform. But we'll leave that for now and scroll down again. And here you can see chapter headings, and page numbers are over here. So if you had a particular page or chapter you want to access, you can jump straight to it without needing to scroll through the book. Each platform will give you options to access the text, usually either reading online or downloading a section or an entire book. Some providers have a system where you can download and access a book offline for a limited time from a virtual bookshelf, like borrowing a printed book from a library. These options will be displayed on the first page, and it's a good idea to look at the options before you go in to access the text. In this case, we can look at chapters as either PDF or HTML. Ebook platforms will often have limits on how much you can print or download, so it's worth checking on the main page before you start. We've mentioned using keywords from your essay questions to find parts of the book that will be useful to you, and we can try this now. This box at the top of the screen gives us the option to search in this book, and the box is checked for search within full text. So I'm going to type in the word Nigeria and then click on search. Just as with an internet search, the results are displayed in order of relevance, and the keywords are highlighted so that you can pick them out easily, and then click on the highlighted title to jump to the section of the book. There is a button to save your search. If you want to use this feature, you'll need to register for an account with Cambridge Core. This is a feature of other ebook platforms too. Registering for an account will give you access to extra functions, like being able to add and save notes and bookmarks. To register for an account, click on the button at the top of the screen that says register, and then the next time you'll be able to log in. This doesn't affect your access to the book. That's provided for you by the library. But if you want to access the extra functionality, you will need to log in. All the platforms have slightly different features, so it's a good idea to have a look and explore what you can do. There's two more things to mention before we go on to another book. Firstly, some providers will give you the option to change the size of the text, and if you need to do that, you can use the buttons that are shown here. Secondly, once you've signed in, you can click to select sections of the book, and then use the buttons on the left to do various things with what you've selected. For instance, if you'd prefer to read the text on your Kindle, there is an option to download to Kindle here. We're going to go back to the reading list now and move on to our second book. The next book on the reading list is provided by EBSCOhost. Some providers put a limit on the number of people who can access an ebook at any one time, and this is one of those cases. So we can see where it says concurrent user level, there is limited user access and 3 copies are available. This means that 3 people can read this book at the same time. We will always try and get the best access we can to ebooks, but it isn't always possible to get unlimited access. The EBSCO home screen is laid out differently to the book that we just looked at, but it does have some similar features. If we want to search inside the book, I'll click on a chapter heading. And here we are inside the book. And on the left-hand side, so in a completely different place to on the Cambridge call screen, we have the option to search within, and this gives us a search box. So I'm going to type the words big data into the search box and click search. And once again, our results are displayed in order of relevance. Or I could choose to have them displayed in the order they appear in the book if I wanted to. And once again, it's possible to set up an account. So once you've signed in, you'll have the ability to save content to your folder and to use additional features, such as the My Notes feature, which allows you to add notes to the book that you're reading. We'll leave you to explore the other examples of ebooks on the reading list in your own time. This demonstration was to give you an introduction to what various platforms offer and things to look out for. One last thing to mention before we move on is that all of the ebook and e-journal pages will have help pages where you can find advice on how to use them. Moving on to e-journals. Journals have a different structure to books. They are made up of articles by different contributors, and rather than looking at a whole journal issue, you're more likely to want to access individual articles. E-journal providers will offer similar options to ebook providers though. For instance, the option to create an account to allow you to save content and access additional functions. So we're going to click on the View Online button next to the first journal article. You'll see that the screen looks similar to the last ebook we looked at, and this is because access to this journal is provided by EBSCOhost. On the left here, you can see we have the option to view the text as HTML or a PDF, or we can just read it here on the screen. On the other side, there are options to print the article, generate a citation, or indeed listen to the article or have it translated. And I'll talk a little bit more about those options in a moment. Some of you may be familiar with the layout of a journal article, but I will just draw your attention to the abstract. An abstract is a short summary of what an article is about, and when you're searching for sources to support your research, abstracts are really useful because they can give you a quick overview of an article, so you don't need to read the whole thing to decide if it might be useful. If you scroll down past the abstract, you'll see once again that you have the option to have this article read aloud. Not all platforms offer this, and if they don't, and you need to have the text read to you, you might need to make use of screen readers. But in this case, the option is embedded. There's also a translate button, which gives you the option to have the article translated. You do have to be careful with this option as the translation is done by a translation program rather than a person. So some of the words might not be translated in the sense that the authors intended, but it is an option. Scroll down through the article and you'll see names highlighted and in brackets. These are citations to references that the authors used in their research, and they can be useful to you too in doing further reading and research. If you click on one of the highlighted citations, it will take you to the reference list at the end of the article, and you can see the full details of the article that's referred to. If you need help using e-journal functions, there's usually a link to online help, as with ebooks, and some providers have tutorials to take you through using their sites. If you're having trouble with accessing the journal, so if you're having problems logging in or if you're getting error messages, contact the library team and we'll look into it for you. Hopefully, these demonstrations help you know what to expect from an online reading platform. Now we're going to talk about some of the additional tools you can use to get the most out of your digital readings. There's a variety of tools available now to make online reading more accessible. Some of these are built into the content. Some providers give options to resize text or to change the color or the font, or to use read aloud to have the text read to you. Screen reading software can also be used to read content aloud. For more general accessibility on a PC, My Computer My Way from AbilityNet has guidance on how to set up a PC and find functions that will make the content more accessible. For example, enlarging text or adaptations to assist users with specific needs, for instance, dyslexia. The library provides access to Census Access, which is a software that converts text, URLs, and files into more accessible formats for reading and for listening. There are a variety of ways you can access additional support with your online readings. The library accessibility page is a resource that outlines the accessibility support available through the library, as well as some links to helpful tools and software you can explore to improve your screen reading experience. You can find this page by going to the library website and clicking the accessibility link at the top of the page, and it's also linked to from the reading list for this video. Contact the library if you have any questions about your readings or are having trouble accessing resources. Our team is happy to help. The Skills for Success team at the university offer workshops and support for reading skills. Their sessions go over note-taking, critical reading, and using your readings in academic writing. You can book these workshops on Career Hub. We've also linked to their resources from the reading list for this video. If you need any help finding resources or the best places to carry out your research, we offer a range of resources and support through our Skills at Library program. Our Skills at Library resources and support include online resources and tools that help with finding, critically evaluating, referencing, and managing information to use in assignments. These resources include interactive tutorials, how-to videos, and other helpful information. We also run workshops that take a more in-depth look at search tips, checking sources, references, and more. And we have one-to-one appointments to get personalised support from a librarian on finding credible sources to use in academic assignments and on referencing. So finally, here's a to-do list. Firstly, remember to have a reading plan for your digital reading so that you can use your time most efficiently. Take advantage of the tools and features in digital reading platforms. And be sure to explore additional reading resources and support that are available through the library and the university. And finally, do ask for help when you need it. Thank you for watching this video on making the most of your digital readings.